Good morning, everybody, once again. So I got news of, my mother always said that it comes in threes. So I got news. We know the two big, major, famous rabbis that we lost this weekend. Those who pay attention to the Jewish news. And now I get at least someone who I knew personally, who was an incredible inspiration to me, a Holocaust survivor. This is Sarah Kornreich, of blessed memory, passed away last night, and several of her children run the courts as Chassidish Rebbes, or she herself, she was a Einikel from the Sanzerov, and it's a tremendous loss. Someone who lived a very full life, and is incredible. And a few years ago, about a year and a half ago, when her husband passed away, I spoke about him and both of them. So you could look on the videos that I made Hespedim of Rabbi Kornreich, and also with videos of Rabbi Kornreich speaking that I have on my channel. You can look up, and so it's a very special.
In 2 miles, take exit 51 for I-91 north towards Springfield.
Very special person, a tremendous loss. But I did want to talk about the two famous rabbis that we lost this weekend, Rabbi David Feinstein and Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sachs. Reb David ben Reb Moshe and Reb Yaakov Tzvi. I don't remember his father's name. I had it. I think Reb Alexander. I don't remember, but I know his mother's name was Liba, and Reb David's mother's name was Shema. In any event, I'm driving through Hartford, Connecticut, which is an interesting city. Some beautiful buildings here. On my way to perform a wedding in Massachusetts, actually. My first of the day of several. Kanai Nahara, Baruch Hashem. So in any event, I was zeicha to see Reb David Feinstein on a number of occasions. At Chasnas, generally, is when I saw him. Didn't really speak to him, just gave shalom. It was when I was younger, I was a teenager. And I knew, my local Rabbonim who were close with him, particularly the Rav in New Hyde Park at the time, for several years, was Barry Hammer. He should be well. And the Rabbi Hammer was a Talmud of Reb David, and loved Reb David very much, and respected him very much. And Reb David was an incredible person.
In a quarter mile, take exit 51 for I-91 north towards Springfield.
And I think his most special thing was his humility. He didn't...
Take exit 51.
He was a yeshiva who was so widely respected, and here I am, in German, and I'm wearing a frock because I'm going to
continue for 3/4 of a mile.
Perform a wedding for a non-Jewish couple, so I put on more like a Litvish style frock and a top hat with a clerical collar. I don't know how it all goes together. And that was one thing that Reb David was famous for, is that he didn't wear a frock. He wore just a short jacket, and I might not agree always with his political views and so forth, but he was a great person. He was highly respected, and he deserved the respect that he had.
In a quarter mile, merge onto I-91 North.
And I tremendous respect for this Gadol. Mamish Gadol Ador was very respected Pesach, as his father was.
Continue on I-91 North for 23 miles.
And that's a tremendous thing. And it's a tremendous loss. It was quite sudden. And he'll be incredibly missed. And, and I've been there a few times. It's something very special to walk into MTJ on the Lower East Side. Levaya will be starting in about an hour. And as I'm speaking now, and it's a tremendous loss for the Klal Yisrael. And then over Shabbos, I only got the email to daven for Reb David. A few hours before he was nifter, and then I thought it was also, and that was awfully quick. And it was 2 weeks ago that we got a message to daven for Yankov Tzvi, for Lord Jonathan Sachs. I like that he had a different English name than his Hebrew name, as I do. People like to call me Reb Yosef, and I guess maybe some people would call him Reb Yonason, and it wasn't. And his English name was not his Hebrew name. His name was Reb Yaakov Tzvi, and my English name is Reb Yitzchak Zev. I'm not named after the Brisker Rav, although it's an honor to have his name. I'm named after several of my grandfathers and several of my uncles. Two ancestors on both sides of my mother's lineage were named Yitzchak. One on her father's side was her father's father, and one on the mother's side going back a few generations. So I had two Reb Yitzchaks. Actually, if you go back far enough, I did have a Zayda, Reb Yitzchak Bochrach, who was actually the Brisker Rav, the first Brisker Rav, a long time ago. And he was the Rav in Brisk many centuries ago. But I don't think that that's where the name came from in my family, but it's well back there. So that's an interesting thing that I did have a Zayda, Reb Yitzchak, who was Brisker Rav. He wasn't Reb Yitzchak Zev, but he was Reb Yitzchak. And two uncles, Belville, also on both sides. So he had Uncle Bill. My father's name was Bill, and so just interesting. So anyway, Lord Jonathan Sachs was an incredible person, and again, I certainly didn't agree with his politics. I probably agreed more politically in many ways with Reb David Feinstein than I did with Lord Jonathan Sachs. But I never saw Rabbi Sachs that I could remember, and I started listening to his shiurim just this year. Really, I mean, I'd heard him before, of course, but I get there's on YouTube a number of shiurim, Covenant and Conversation on the weekly parsha, and because with the coronavirus situation and the reaction that they're making to the coronavirus, I have to download videos from YouTube and upload them and burn them to DVDs, etc., because of to have something to show to the inmates at work, because I work as a prison chaplain. And every week for the past few months, just about every week, I've put on a video on the inmate channel from Rabbi Sachs. And I was just blown away every time. So impressed by the messages that he gave. And he was such an eloquent ambassador for the Klal Yisrael, better than any chief rabbi the so-called state of Israel ever had. And I know Lord Sachs was a devout Zionist, and I won't hold that against him. But the truth is, he represented the Klal Yisrael better than so many people I could imagine who try to. People who I agree with more. And yet he was so eloquent. And not only he sounded fancy, he had messages that had tremendous teichen. And as much as I disagree with him, I loved every moment listening to him. And I used quite often the messages that he gave in my own drushes, and found, chomer l'drush, as we say when talking shop in the business of the rabbinate. There was tremendous amount of what we would call chomer l'drush, material for sermons in Rabbi Sachs in his sermons. And he was so eloquent, and he was so humble, and he was just an incredible person. And I'm very sad to hear about this. I did send an email to his office that they told me when he announced that he was sick that I'd be davening for him, and decision today I'm wearing a clerical collar, and that was the custom actually in England for the chief rabbis and other members of the United Synagogue to wear clerical collars, and that's where I get the justification for that, even though I never saw Lord Sachs wearing one. But it was common in England before that, and the truth is that's where the custom comes from. People associate it with the Catholic Church, but the truth of the matter is it doesn't come from the Catholic Church. It comes from England as a custom for all clergy of all faiths to wear clerical collars. Just a bit of trivia there for those who are interested. But the reason I'm bringing up the fact that I disagreed politically, personally, with these two great rabbis who I respect incredibly, and again, the love that I have for Rabbi Sachs, even though I never met him, it's something. It just developed recently, and I'm so happy that I started to listen to him. Because again, I don't have to agree with him, and that's the point. With everything going on now, and I stick by the things that I say. I stick by that Joe Biden is a racist. Doesn't mean he's a bad person, but he is certainly a racist. And Donald Trump is not a racist. And I stick by that. And I don't know why I even have to mention it, but the fact of the matter is, they did that to us for 4 years. Let them know what it feels like. I hope it's not going to be for 4 years that we're going to have to remind people of this, but it's true. Joseph Biden Jr. is a racist. He's a very major racist. And the left makes that sound, the racism is the original sin. It's a bad thing. It's a sin, but it's not the worst thing in the world. And I think he could still function, possibly, particularly with opposition from if we maintain a Republican Senate. He could function as a president nominally to the point where nothing will get done, which is what the president is supposed to do. Nothing. And what the federal government is supposed to do. Nothing. So that's the Misa. But anyway, the point that I'm bringing up here by talking about this now is that we can and must build bridges with those that we disagree with politically. That doesn't mean we should make Hanifa. I can say strongly that I disagree with Lord Jonathan Sacks with his Zionism and with his approach to American politics that he expressed recently. And I can say that I disagreed with what is claimed, and I don't know if it's true, and I don't want to be macabre such a thing. The things that Shelley Silver, who I have met on several occasions, claimed that Reb David Zechor Livrocha told him. I don't want to call Rabbi Yehuda Levin a liar, and I love Rabbi Yehuda Levin. He's one of those people that I agree with more, but I don't think he's as eloquent as Lord Jonathan Sacks was. But he's at least doing the work of reaching out to other religions and making outreach, which is very important. And it's not just a British thing, because Daniel Lapin is also British, and he's a wonderful person. He means very well, but the kinds of things that he says, I don't get it. I don't get the appeal there, I'll be honest. I'm much, but the one thing that I see is that how Glenn Beck recognizes that he's honest, and I do believe that Rabbi Daniel Lapin is an honest person. Just I think he's a little bit too tamimistic to say the types of things that he says. In any event, this is where we're holding. We are in this situation where there's so much political strife and turmoil, and I also stand by my belief that the election was, at this point, is not decided yet, and that these claims that Biden is the winner are lies, and they're based on lies, and that there was an inordinate amount of voter fraud this year, more than any other year. And this claim that the voter turnout was so much more than ever before is laughable. But with that being said, I still believe that we can still be friends with people that we disagree with, and we should be, and we should find other common ground and stop canceling each other. You know, I'll tell you one thing. On Monday, a little bit less than a week ago, or I guess technically a week ago, if we go by the Jewish count of what a week is, right? You know, like if it's the same day of the week, that's the 8th day, right? That's true. So it was a week ago that I had the chus to see the president. Had this tremendous merit. It's an incredible thing. They played a lot of music, a lot of popular music at this rally, both before the president came and when he arrived and when he left. And I just find it incredible that, obviously, first of all, most popular musicians are from the left, you know. That goes. But the thing is that the Republicans, they could have just played country music. They only played one country song, as "I'm Proud to Be an American." That's the song the president always comes out to, and everything else, it was all people that I would assume to be on the left. And yet somehow we didn't cancel them. the way they want to cancel us.
Welcome to Massachusetts.
So if Mr. Biden is really honest about what he's saying about building bridges, which he might be personally, because he's as radical as he is, and he's extremely radical. As far as Democrats go, he's a moderate, right? And he remains, he claims that he wants to build bridges, so forth. Let's start to see this. Instead of this, the AOC saying we have to make a Nixonian enemies list, and a little bit worse than that, because I don't know if Nixon actually had any design to make any retribution to his enemies. He just had an enemies list, right? And AOC wants to make an enemies list, and she wants to punish us. So we have to get rid of that type of rhetoric. I know I have friends on Facebook and people who blocked me on Facebook, people who canceled me on Facebook, who are upset at me for my political views. Let's at least put an end to that. Let's find, we're friends for other, or we were friends for other reasons, whether it's religion, whether it's movies, or whatever we have in common. Can we agree to not hate each other just because we disagree? And this example with these two great rabbis, that I'm not saying I'm anybody to disagree with them. I'm saying I follow other rabbis that disagree with them. The rabbis who I respect and look up to, maybe not all of them, a lot of them, do agree with them, but me personally, I have
In half a mile, keep left to stay on I-91 North.
Dr. Seuss Museum. Oh, should have brought the kids here. So that's the story. So I can respect both of these rabbis that I have disagreements with, which I would consider political disagreements.
Keep left to stay on I-91 North.
And yet we can still see that I still respected.
Continue on I-91 North for 2 miles.
Both of these. So thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. I gotta see where I'm holding. And we'll see you later.